Well, the debate that's been going on in Washington, D.C. over the last few years has recognized that this is the core issue. What is fair? How many people do we need? That's an economic question, and it's a fair question. But if you don't ask that question, you effectively dumb down the debate to a question of, or taking the position that there is no need for any of these workers, when in fact it's clear as a bell that there are. Now, with the economy getting soft, the importance of the economic focus in this debate probably has grown exponentially. And I'm not an economist, but I wager to say that there is a need for a need for essential workers that clearly continues even through soft economic times. It may differ in terms of geographic areas or industries, but it is there nonetheless. The debate that we've seen, if I can give you an analogy, the debate that we've seen and that we'll continue to see can be likened to a city that has a discrete city limit with about 8 roads coming into it. And on each road at the city limits of the city, there is a traffic light that turns red, green for each particular kind of worker who's allowed to come in, except for one road which has all these essential workers. And on that road, this light is always red. Now, the city council is debating what to do. And based on percentages of how this argument sort of shakes out in the United States today, if this city council of 10 people were representative of the United States, 2 of the people would be saying, we need to hire more police and give these lawbreakers tickets. We need to do something about this because we're a nation of laws or a city of laws. All right, that's one side of it. The other side of it is pretty simple. Why don't we fix the light? Now, that's not the most astute analogy that there is, but it's sort of representative of the different positions that we've got. And I would suggest to you that having a reasonable, fact-based, economically focused, fairness-focused debate is what we need instead of this intensely emotional, they're illegal, we can't reward them, they never want to learn English, they're not being absorbed into our society. All those arguments that really get an emotional response. And to the extent that those arguments tend to stir people up, they're really not very accurate. ESL, English as a Second Language classes, are overflowing throughout the United States. The people in those communities who really probably are going to have very much difficulty or a lot of difficulty ever speaking English are people my age. It'd be just the same as if I were put in Kazakhstan and expected to learn the language there. The younger generation and the children and the grandchildren of those people, they're either bilingual or fluent in English, and especially with the young ones, they cannot speak Spanish very well at all. Healthcare issues, that's truly a significant issue, but I would suggest to you, like education, that may be more a function of federal, state money flow than the number of workers that we have in. So in a very general sense, I think the really important question to ask is, how are we going to treat people who we clearly need in our economy? How are we going to deal with the economics of healthcare, education, crime, all those things? How are we going to deal with those issues in the context of these people? In other words, do we divorce our religious and faith-based issues completely from that debate, or do we look at it pretty much like we did during the Civil Rights era? Back in September, when I gave this presentation to Holy Trinity, I was getting ready to speak, and about 2 or 3 days before I gave my talk, I picked up the local newspaper and saw 2 articles. One was an article about students, 14 black students from Tennessee State University, which is pretty much, I think, an all-black institution, who had gone on the Freedom Rides. And once they were on the bus and were outside of the academic area, they received messages from their university which informed them they'd been expelled. This is in the middle of the Freedom Rides. 47 years later, they were all given doctorate degrees or graduate degrees, whatever they received, some posthumously. The other article that I saw was one talking about DWI charges trip up illegal immigrants. And it just talked about what people are experiencing today if they're undocumented. And the juxtaposition of these 2 articles to me was very telling. And it brings home the point that if we're going to do something about this, it's not something that we can just talk about sort of casually. it will take some concerted effort. I think again, we're going to show or superimpose on your screen here some sources at the end of the talk that you can use for educational purposes. It will also allow you to contact your member of Congress, whatever your disposition is on this question. Speaking out to your member of Congress is a very important thing to do, and in my opinion, it's very patriotic. So we'd urge you to do that and try to get as educated as you can on this, regardless of which side you think makes the most sense. This is going to be a challenging set of issues to deal with, and this debate is not going to go away probably for another decade until we are able to kind of work through the entire set of issues. That is not a reason to avoid the issue. It is, in fact, a reason to embrace it. I want to thank you very much for spending some time with us this morning or this evening. I hope that it has been helpful to you, and we'd be happy to, if we can, provide any additional input that you might feel useful. Thank you very much.